pressure that is coming down on them politically. So yes, even though society generally is more accepting of people who are trans, that doesn't mean that they are actually allowed to be who they are. So there's a few different ways to think about this, because the reality is many people who were trans before this spike were already ending their lives. We just are now more aware of it, partly because there are more people who are now willing to publicly identify as trans. And on that point, this from The Guardian here, more than 50% of trans and non-binary youth in U.S. considered ending their lives this year. And that is because of high rates of depression, anxiety, and depression and anxiety. And of course, the political environment, the constant right-wing media framing on how satanic and terrible these people are, that is only going to lead to that. So simply because people are more willing to come out and be themselves doesn't mean that society, and especially politically, that they are being accepted, which leads to higher rates of depression and anxiety, and ultimately leads to these sorts of thoughts. Now, this is going to the point about the political environment. This is 2023 Anti-Trans Bills Tracker. This is translegislation.com. So there are 533 bills in 49 states. 64 have passed, 372 still active, that are anti-trans bills. This is an environment where there's 1,000 other things that politicians, lawmakers could actually be focusing on. Low wages, low taxes for the wealthy while everyone else is getting screwed, lack of opportunities, cost of housing, cost of healthcare. There are a million infrastructure. There are a million different things that they could be focused on. But because they think this is a political winner for them, that the right does, then they focus on this because this stuff is easy. This is a easy distraction for them from any actual issues. Now, I often hate how this is, and I've done this in the past, and I've changed my framing on this. This has in the past been discussed, or currently also is being discussed as a culture war. This is not a culture war. This is human rights. This is a human rights issue. The inability for someone to be themselves because of whether it's legislation, whether it's right-wing media, demonizing them, that is a human rights problem. A culture war is the M&Ms are now less sexy. For some reason, Tucker Carlson, the right wing, very upset about that. That is culture war. That is some, who cares about that? That is actual culture war garbage. That is an actual distraction from real issues. Trans rights is human rights. That is not culture war. Now, Human Rights Watch or Human Rights Campaign, writing here, they're working to defeat 340 anti-LGBTQ plus bills at state level already, 150 of which target transgender people, highest number on record. So we are seeing a record high of the amount of focus on this issue, even though trans people have existed forever. But now, because the right wing can no longer really demonize, I mean, some of them still try, but they have lost the ability to use gay marriage as an outlet for anger and fear. They've now moved on to an even smaller minority of people for their focus. Another headline here, and it's important to note that these laws are also targeting transgender adults. So there's a lot of, there's unfortunate debate, incorrect debate around trans laws around trans youth and the ability for trans youth to be themselves and identify as how they want to be identified. But they're also targeting adults. It's wide spanning. Like there's no limit to what they are attempting to do here. Now on the graphs, I've brought this up so many times. I'm so glad Lance brought this to the Tim Pool debate. The history of left-handedness. As Lance explained, it's clear why this happened. It's clear why there is now a spike. For a long while, there was this cultural idea that if you're left-handed, then you are Satan. Thankfully, that changed, and people were able to be left-handed And that's when the rates, flattened out. Now, who knows what, the top line rate of this is, whether it's trans, whether it's gay, lesbian, whatever. But point being is, who cares? What if it's 100%? What if every single person in the world is trans? Does it really matter? Like, who cares? Let people be themselves. This just like the same as being left-handed. Who cares? So, but you see here, as society becomes more accepting of different kinds of people, then different kinds of people are more willing to be themselves. And this number continues increasing. So you see, millennials here increasing over the years. Gen Z, of course, in 2020, that was the first time that they were registered here, but 15.9%. And since then, this is Gallup. So Gallup has new data on this. 2021, it's now at 20.8%. So it jumped 5 percentage points for Gen Z. Because again, as society becomes more accepting and more Gen Z are coming into society as adults, there is going to be a larger representation of this number as people feel the ability or feel more willing to be themselves publicly. That doesn't mean that they don't still face high rates of depression, anxiety because of various factors, whether it's media demonizing them or whether it's politicians trying to make it so they don't even exist. But whatever. Good job here from Lance. If you want to watch the whole debate, I believe he has it on his channel. I will link to it below this video, or you can watch the commentary that the Leftist Mafia, minus me and a couple others, they were on covering that last night. So check that out. And also, oh yeah, last thing. Even look at this green screen. I still can't. Okay, there's a green line through here, but my green screen's always going to mess up these shirts. But therationalnational.com/merch, that will take you to the merch store. There are shirts like this in various colors. There's also mugs, hats, whatever you like. So go check it out. And once again, good job, Lance.